Hi, Hels. It's lovely to see you.
Hi, Rach. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm very well, actually. Feeling very sprightly despite the awful weather. We always talk about weather in England, don't we? I should do that.
Do you know what? My children now check the weather every morning, which I'm like, oh my gosh, they're already in that cycle. But we are obsessed, aren't we?
We are. It's bonding.
Absolutely. Well, today we're not going to talk about the weather.
No.
You are here very kindly to be one of my very first guests on my new, as of yet, untitled series, where I talk to friends all about their experiences and whether it's their careers or it's things that they're living through or things that they've been through. And I've been wanting to do it for a bit. And I think you're one of the first people I spoke to, and you were like, Rach, you've got to do this. You just got to do it. And I'm so grateful for that support and that enthusiasm.
I am so grateful to be number one.
You are. You're my guinea pig.
Yeah. Pop the interview cherry.
Yes, exactly. So we're here to talk, obviously, about something that you've been through, and that's your couples therapy that you're going through with your husband, Matt, at the minute.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, I wanted to kind of give a little bit of context to our friendship, and then we'll go on to talk about, like I said, what you and Matt are going through. So, Hels, I was working this out the other day. We've known each other for over 30 years because we obviously met at school, which makes me feel incredibly old.
You're aging me at the moment because I like to tell people that I'm 30, so you just outed me. That's amazing.
It is amazing, isn't it? And although it makes me kind of feel old, when you say to the children about a teacher and they're like, yeah, they're really old, mummy, and I'm like, well, how old are they?
Yeah.
They literally say like 28, and I'm like,
yeah.
That's not old. That's incredibly young. But yes, I think with age obviously comes experience and friendship and all these kind of closer friends that you have. So we met at school, and although you were in the year above, we've always had a really close connection. And I don't know how that was, because we didn't really hang out with each other's friends. It was like we just bonded over something at school. And I don't know whether you have any memories of what we did at school together.
No, I have memories of us sitting on the stairs in the hall a lot of evenings just chatting, and I don't know.
Yeah.
We just sort of I was just very drawn to you, and I have no idea. People ask me, how did you guys, were you family friends? But some people in life you're just sort of drawn to and you don't know why, and you've been a friend ever since. So
exactly, I have the same kind of memories, and kind of on the sports pitches as well. But I did have a chuckle to myself the other day, because you know how the weirdest things kind of come up in your mind, like, oh my gosh, that's what happened. And I remember we were talking, and you said, Rach, I've really hurt myself. And I was like, what have you done? And you said, I've shaved my legs, but I haven't used any soap or water. And so you've literally just grated away the skin on your calf. And for some reason, I really remember that.
Oh my goodness. I was always very smart at school. I don't know.
Yes, exactly. So that's a memory. That's a memory from 30 years ago.
Thanks, Dad.
Anyway, so today, like I said, we're going to be talking about couples therapy. So I want to kind of give some background to why you and Matt are now doing that. And so after school, we kind of went our separate ways, didn't we? I stayed very much in the UK, and you travelled. You went to Australia and then America. And so can you give us kind of some background to that and why you've ended up kind of where you are today?
Yeah. So I went travelling to Australia and did what the classic English traveller does. I stayed there. And I just fell in love with the country. And then I met my now husband, Matt. We stayed there for a little bit longer, but then we did come back to the UK for a little while, had our daughter, Gracie, and then we went and lived in America. So we were moving with his work. Yeah. And in America, we had my son. And then from there, we moved back to Australia. And now, because it was sort of my turn to hang out with my family a little bit, we made the move back about 18 months ago to be with my family.
How was that? Australia is obviously the other side of the world. So obviously you're with someone that you love, but also what was it like having such small children being miles away? What kind of pressure did that put on you as a person, but also as like a family unit?
It was a lot, because when we were living in America, we had absolutely no one.
Of course.
And it's a lot of pressure because you don't have, as a couple, any downtime together unless you're paying through the roof for babysitters or nannies, which we didn't. And so we ended up having no time for each other at all. So all energy went into the children, and then basically we just fell asleep at 7. And so slowly over the years, we started to just lose the ability to communicate. So it wasn't just one event, it was just slowly over about 3 years. It just sort of slowly, we got to a point where we had stopped communicating well.
And isn't it interesting, like you say, it's not necessarily kind of big moments and you look back and you think, I can't stand this person, or there's a major problem. It just kind of taps away, doesn't it? Just little things happen. And I think with exhaustion as well, you're like, I can't be bothered. Can't be bothered to sort that out, or whatever it is. And so this kind of, I think, leads really nicely into, like you say, couples therapy. And I've always been fascinated by it. I think bar you and Matt, there's one other friend of mine that is open about having couples therapy. But is there a stigma attached? I don't know whether people talk about it.
I think there is still. I think therapy for individuals now is much more mainstream, much more accepted. But I think couples therapy, there's still that sense that the marriage is in trouble if you go to couples therapy. And that's not the case for us at all. We wanted to get back to where we were before, and just, we want to stay together for the rest of our lives. And so in order to do that, we need to really work on our marriage. So I think that there is, but the more I sort of talk to people about it, more people come out going, oh yeah, we see a therapist. You're like, wow, okay. So more people are talking about it. I'm hoping the more mainstream it will come.
It's so interesting what you just said. It's not as if your marriage was falling apart. It was the fact that you wanted to not maintain, but you wanted to go back to where you were before. You weren't getting divorced. You weren't at the end of it. It was like, we've just got to move back a few steps to recapture what we've got so that we can move forward. And that's really interesting. I think people maybe assume that you only go to couples therapy, like you said, when you're in trouble. When you're at the end, you're like, I can't be with this person anymore. But actually, it's not. It's about rekindling and reconnecting.
Totally, absolutely.
So, I thought you were gonna go on. It's fine. No, I can say something. Okay. So you're at this place where you're like, we're losing what we had. We've got these little people in our lives, and we are totally devoted to them. And whether it's children, or whether it's careers, or whether it's family commitments, everyone has their own unique situation when they're with someone else. But you personally had, obviously, these little people. You had no respite, i.e., had no one to support you.
Yeah.
So was it you that introduced the idea of couples therapy to Matt, or I assume it is. I assume the woman does it, or was it different in your case?
I think it's very common for the female in the relationship to instigate therapy. In my case, it was the opposite way around.
Interesting.
It was Matt that came to me one day and just said, how do you feel about maybe seeing a therapist? And I was completely on board. But I think that there's this fear of going to the partner and saying it, because you're sort of admitting that you're not happy, or you're admitting that something is not right. So just taking that first step is often, the hardest. But if you're really not happy in your marriage, it's pretty likely that the other person isn't having the best time either. And so it's just having the confidence to say to, the other person, would you be willing just to get someone to help us a little bit?
Completely. So Matt came to you, and you're absolutely right. That's stereotypical in a heterosexual relationship. You think it is going to be the female that brings up the topic. If it was at the other side and you said to Matt, would we do this? How do you think he would have reacted?
I would have been worried that he would be panicking that I was like on the edge of divorce. And I think, but to give him credit, I don't think he would have. I think he would have been like, yeah, I'm willing to do anything. And that's the thing, we love each other very much. And so we're willing to make the effort, to make it work. And
Completely.
it's nerve wracking because you suddenly think, oh my God, we're going to go and talk to a complete stranger about our lives. But, we were both miserable. What we were doing on our own was not working.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, it's, you sort of surrender to it.
Yeah. Okay, so you're at this place, Hells. You're both on the same page in terms of we need external help. Where do you go from there? Recommendations, or how do you go about finding that person to talk to?
Yeah, so recommendations is a really good idea, but that it's only if you're sort of willing to talk to other people and admit
True.
that you want to go. So if you're not comfortable yet talking to other people about it, then what he did, he just typed into Google couple therapists near me. It's
The
very,
power of Google.
exactly the power of Google. And there was a platform that came up that had, a list of therapists that were sort of in our area.
Okay.
Nowadays, so much is done on Zoom. We saw her in person for quite a few months, and then now, because we've moved out of the area, we actually speak to her on Zoom. But
Okay.
there would be there's loads more available to you if you're happy to do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
And the other thing with that is you sort of go with the gut, which is, you feel it's a bit risky, but you've really got to try and remember that it's not one size fits all. So not every therapist is going to work for every couple. And you have to be accepting of the fact that maybe the first one is not the right one for you. And it's just going, okay,
Yeah.
that wasn't great, because both of you have to be comfortable with the person.
Yeah.
And if one of you's like, I don't like that person, they're one-sided, I feel like they're always having a go at me, you kind of need to keep looking. And it's just making sure that you do keep looking. Like, once you're in the momentum of finding a therapist, make sure you keep going, even if, the first couple are not right for you.
That's so helpful, because the inclination is just to give up, isn't it? To kind of think
Yeah.
this isn't going
Or
to
it's
work.
not for us.
Yeah, completely. But it's remembering why you're wanting to do it in the first place.
Yeah, totally.
So you've been lucky. You've managed to find kind of the right woman for you
Yeah.
guys. So the first thing that comes to kind of mind when I think about couples therapy is, isn't it just awkward? You're either in a room together or you're now doing it on Zoom, and you're saying things that maybe you thought you could never vocalize. And doesn't that make it awkward for the other person to hear or for you to say?
Yeah. So I was so nervous when I first went, because I thought, God, I'm not going to have the confidence,
Yeah.
or, I'm not going to want to say the things that are really on my mind, because I'm scared I'm going to hurt him, or he's going to be angry. And then in the car, it's just going to be mega awkward.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, so, but then before I went in, a friend said to me, a good therapist will get you to a place of harmony before you leave the room, so it's not awkward.
Okay.
And it really isn't. And for me, which was such a surprise, I had this overwhelming feeling of love towards him when he was sitting in the chair and being so vulnerable and telling me
Yeah.
his side of the story. And I just, it brought back that real sort of deep love, or reignited, or I don't know what the right word is, but,
Yeah.
and it just made me love him so much more, that he was there and he was vulnerable, and, he was making the effort, really. But it is nerve wracking to say things, but the therapist is a really beautiful way of bringing that out. And so the first sessions, it was really her getting to know us. Because
Okay.
often she will draw on things that might have happened in your childhood, and link them to how you're reacting to things
Interesting.
in
Interesting.
in the present moment. And so she wants, they say she, that's because it's familiar to me, but they want to get very familiar with both of you,
Yeah.
so it kind of helps have a bit more of an understanding of where we are now.
I think it's so important to get that holistic view, isn't it, of what, like
Yeah.
you say, has been happening in the past. What have you found most challenging then, when you've had the session or post session? What have you really had to work at?
Well, really, I find it because I'm so scared of hurting him. I can't bear the thought of him being sad and it's caused by me. And so sometimes when there's things that are on my mind that I really need to get off my chest, I get nervous about saying them. But but then when you're in the room, it's such a it's such a calm, open space, and I know that he will receive it well and much better in that environment than if we were at home. And it's the same for me. He can. If he tells me to close the cupboards because I leave the cupboards open, I might go, well, stop leaving your towels on the floor. But then when you're in the space, he'll say, I just find it really frustrating when you're leaving all of the cupboards open. This is a silly example. It is a thing, but it's a silly example. Um, and and I kind of find myself going, okay, I totally accept that. I'll try and be better. It's the nerves for me is worrying about bringing something up, but then
Yeah.
once I'm in the moment, it's not. It goes. It doesn't feel like that anymore.
And
Um,
I suppose when you're with them, with the therapist, kind of in that space, whether it's online or in the room as well,
yeah.
they're talking you through it and they give you that confidence. But do they then give you the tools to do that at home or in a more personal setting? Because it's all very well doing it when someone is there. Because I don't know,
Yes.
I'd almost kind of feel you're on good behaviour, like, oh yes, darling, sorry, I won't do that again. But actually,
Yeah.
it's the day to day, isn't it? That's what you're trying to sort out here. So do you come away with that confidence to be like, this is how she talked us through it, and that's how we can apply it when it's happening 2 days later?
Yes. So we start to, because you're talking in a way that's very respectful of each other in the room. It's almost like it's practice for when you get out. And
Okay.
so when we're in normal life and something comes up, I will kind of check back and think, okay, well, I brought something else up in the room this way. I'm going to try that. Or
Okay.
the other thing is I also sometimes, if I don't want to bring it up, I'm like, I'm going to just store that and wait until therapy and bring it up in therapy.
I'm going to bank that. I'm going to
Yeah,
bank that
that
annoyance.
is banked. But do you know, and what I was thinking of this really, like, I think it was quite a helpful story. I had a friend whose husband, um, it makes him sound like a monster, but he's really not, has anger issues. And so occasionally he'll sort of lose his temper and shout and then checks himself. And when my friend suggested to him about counselling, he said, I'm just nervous about going because I think the therapist is just going to think I'm horrendous for being, losing my temper.
Yeah.
And they eventually went, and he felt so heard because he would say, I know I lose my temper. And they unpacked that. And he
Yeah.
felt so heard and understood that it wasn't what he was expecting. And so
Yeah.
often I think sometimes if you know one of your behaviors is not right and is going to get picked apart, sometimes that stops you from going.
Yeah.
But the therapist or counselor is there, to help you, not to tell you off or agree with your partner how awful you are.
Yeah. It's that offer that kind of that support, isn't it?
Yeah,
And I
totally.
think I think going back to what you were saying at the beginning, the biggest step is realizing there's something that needs to be fixed.
Yes.
And yes, we all want to hide from our insecurities or the parts of ourselves that we don't like. But the only way that you're going to be able to get through that is actually admitting them or being honest with yourself to begin with, isn't it?
Yes, totally. Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
that it's not me kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it probably is if it's.
Yeah. So you and Matt, just to kind of go back to kind of the frequency of then kind of seeing a counsellor. So were you and Matt seeing someone every week? Are you still seeing someone every week? Where are you now in terms of that journey?
So now we are once a fortnight. We
Okay.
started going once a week, and then
Yeah.
when we started to, you know, get ourselves into a better place, we started going once every 2 weeks. And then Our Lady had a break over summer. By the end of summer, we were like, should we? She sent us an email going, "Hi guys, I'm back. Do you want to book in?" You're like, both of us, yes, please.
On speed dial. Get us booked in.
And so now we are, we're every other week, and that might not stay. We get to a point where we're feeling pretty good, but you know, it definitely has brought us together. It really has. It's united us, and you know, my husband jokes. He says if someone else gets married and we go to the wedding, we're going to get them a therapy session. You know, because it honestly, it's been a game changer for our marriage. It really has.
That's amazing. Well, I was going to ask you what's the best thing that you got out of it, and maybe you've answered that. Maybe it's changed everything
Yeah,
from what it was.
it's a trust now, that knowing that if something's on my mind, I can talk to him and he will receive it, and the same back. And also situations that I had been that were in my mind that had happened, and I had built them up, and I was still holding on to it, and I was angry, and that came out in a session, and I then heard his side of that story, and I was like, oh my God. So in my rage and anger, I had just like blocked whatever he was feeling. You know, in my mind, I was right. What you did was bad. And then when I heard his side of the story, I was like, wow, okay, that makes so much sense. And it's forcing you to listen to your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
think,
that was a game changer for me.
do you know, I think that's what it is, Helsen. It's listening. You know, and it's being heard, isn't it? It's
Yes.
as the partner listening and the person who is speaking to be heard. And if you can get that kind of mutual respect and understanding,
Yeah,
then you know it can be make all the difference, can't it?
absolutely. It really.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. A little insight into your married life. And maybe we should get Matt's side of the story next time and see how he
Yeah,
felt
maybe we
it.
should.
Just
I said to him, "Are you all right with me talking about it?" And he goes,
yeah,
"Yeah, I trust you to be respectful." I was like,
yeah.
"Okay."
Bless him. And just quickly then, is he open about having it? You know, you say you talk to your
Yes,
friends about it. Does he openly say, you know, not kind of literally to anyone that will listen, but will it come up in conversation? You'll be like, yeah, me and Hells do it.
100%, and that's because it's worked so well for us.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
if we see anyone struggling, you know,
Yeah.
it's a suggestion always. It's not something that we're ashamed of. Proud, loud and proud.
Loud and proud. What a way to finish. Thank you so much. And actually, this is just part one of part two, because
Yes.
I'm getting you back. I'm going to get you
Oh
back on
yeah.
here.
There's a lot happening
Yeah,
here.
exactly. And in part two, we're going to be talking about anxiety and
Yeah.
how you are experiencing that and how you're living with that. So that will be part two. And I will put that link once it's live in the show notes as well, so people can hop over and hear your experiences of that. But for today, thank you so much for sharing about couple therapy. And it's a real eye opener, and it's really inspiring, you know, to have such a positive kind of narrative around a topic that can be seen very, very negative.
Yeah.
And you know, the best thing that can come out of it is, like you say, to keep on talking with each other, which is
Thanks,
what we
Rach.
all want.
And I love what you're doing. This is so powerful.
Oh,
So
oh,
powerful.
bless you. Thank you. You can definitely come back. We will speak very soon. Lots of love to you.
Lots of love, Rach. Bye.
Bye. Bye.